Welcome back to Girl Got Goals and part 4 of our gut health series. Today, we're going to wrap it up on a positive note on what helps to heal your gut. So, we've learned what hurts your gut. In this episode, we're going to specifically try to focus on healing your gut. So, now we know the signs and symptoms, we know what to look for. We've kept our little food journal. We now know what kind of triggers us, and we know the things that we need to start eliminating or the good things we need to start adding in. So let's focus on nourishing your microbiome, which is where we're going to start today. So, Kimberly, what's one way you can think of that you nourish your microbiome?
Okay. Are you ready?
You got a lot of information to throw at me.
Well, you mentioned this in the last episode, and I had kind of wrote it down. So I think a lot of people have questions about the prebiotic and versus probiotic and what they are. Should they be doing both of them? Should they just be doing, most people have heard of probiotics, and I think a lot of people have started doing probiotics, but then I'll hear some say, well, should I do a prebiotic? And so anyway, I think there's a lot of like, what is it? And I know you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I had like wrote it down as, so pro means for and biotic is life. So it's like for life, and it helps those microorganisms that are living in your colon and all over your skin. The prebiotic is food for the probiotic. So I thought like just kind of letting people know ahead of time. I know you touched on it, but so the prebiotic is food for the probiotic, and the probiotic is what is going to help those microorganisms that live in your colon. So I thought that might help people understand. So for the prebiotic, there are certain types of fibers like garlic, onion, asparagus, cultured vegetables. So those are things that you can eat versus taking something for it. So I try to eat some of those certain things instead of like taking a supplement. Because sometimes I feel like if we eat it, it's better than all of these
Yeah,
pills and different
100%.
things.
I feel like, nature was created with these nutrients packaged perfectly for just the way your body needs to receive them. So sometimes there's like cofactors that need to go with certain factors to where when you eat the whole foods like the berries and the leeks and the onions and the bananas and different things that have these prebiotics in them, sometimes your body accepts them more easily than a peel. It absorbs more, it benefits more, and also variety is the spice of life. When you're eating a variety of prebiotics, you're feeding lots of different strains of bacteria. Whereas if you're taking a pill, you're probably going to buy the same brand, you're going to take the same pill, it's going to be the same type every time. So you may be building one colony of good bacteria more than another colony, and that can also be not beneficial because it's all about balance. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a great point.
Well, and
Natural's
some of
always
the,
better.
yeah. And then other benefits of that is because if I take a pill, yes, I mean, I'm getting the health benefits, but is it necessarily decreasing my hunger? Because if I'm eating like some of these foods, it's extra substance. If if I'm eating the asparagus, then that's more food. If I took a
Right.
peel that morning, it's not necessarily helping, I feel like, with my hunger or to fill my belly up. Sometimes I think it's a mental thing. If there's more crap on my food, if I put onions in with my rice or in with this or whatever, it's more substance. So it helps keep your belly full. And plus, I feel like I'm eating more. And I feel like that's a mind thing to me. If I look down, I'm like, oh my God, this is nothing. I'm already setting my brain to tell me I'm hungry. I know that sounds
Mm-hmm.
stupid, but I think a lot of times, I mean, our brain is very strong. And like you were talking about saying the good things to the molecule and it was growing. I think sometimes we can say things negatively thinking this food is not a lot. I'm going to be hungry later. Oh my God, because I've done those things. And then you manifest that you're hungry and you hadn't even finished eating it. You
Exactly.
know, I do that
Yeah.
a lot of times on prep and just in eating in general. So if we are eating that food, to me, you're going to help decrease that hunger. And it also decreases insulin resistance, which is, throw that in there, is good if you're a diabetic. And it decreases our cortisol. So
Yeah. Lower
can you take,
stress.
yeah, can you take a supplement? Yes. Is it better to eat it? I think so.
Yeah. I mean, and they say eat the rainbow, and I don't think it's a mistake that nature has packaged different vitamins and nutrients and fibers in
Right.
different colors,
Mm-hmm.
because we're, like you said, we're naturally attracted to more vibrant things, and the more vibrant colors and the more prettier our plate is and the more palatable it is, the better it tastes. Like spice, I think of spices, a lot of spices are very medicinal. Then the more you're going to be satisfied. Not only are you
Mm-hmm.
benefiting your body by adding these prebiotic fibers, but you're benefiting your heart and your soul and your mind, and positive thinking is definitely the precursor to all of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Well, I
So
mean, how many times, I mean, have people taken pictures of their food and, they post it on the internet and you're, all, oh, that's so pretty. Not only do you want the cheesecake or the brownie or whatever, but we think, oh, that is so pretty. That looks so good. It could be a piece of dog doo-doo. They just put syrup over the top, but we think it looks so, we're already imagining, how it's going
what
to
it's going to
taste. So,
taste. Yeah.
yeah,
That makes me
yeah.
think about when I was vegan for those several months. I was eating a very rich, healthy, like plant based diet, trying to do it really the right way. There's a lazy way to do it, but I was really trying to do it the right way because I was fixing my health using nutrition. And I took so many pictures of my food. I never do that now. But back then, my plate, like you said, was so colorful and so pretty. It was almost a work of art. But I wanted to share that with the world. And I used to get so many
Mm-hmm.
comments, and my kids thought I was so cringy for posting my food. But it was simply from a fact of anytime I share anything on social media, it's out of an abundance of joy that I want to share with the world. And my plates of food used to make me so joyful, just visually. Before I even tasted it, I was like, wow, this looks so good. I got to show somebody. And I mean, I don't think it's coincidence that that was probably one of the healthiest phases of my life. And I was able to bring myself out of, disease and things because I was
Mm-hmm.
using food as medicine, basically.
Correct, correct.
And
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, go
just
ahead.
the probiotics also wanted to say helps with your immune system and they make vitamins. So, we also need the probiotic. So if you don't take one, I suggest taking a good probiotic. I think you mentioned this before that you have 10 times as many microbes as you actually have cells that's made up in your body. So, we need, all of this, the good, and like you said, we need to feed the good so that it takes away the bad. We need certain ones of the bad, but we don't, like we talked about last time, need so much of that bad that it's overtaking the good. And if we're not feeding the good, then that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And a great way to feed the good in a more natural route, like we've been talking about, is fermented foods. A lot of other
Yes.
cultures do this naturally, especially cultures that don't have like a lot of ice or a lot of refrigeration. They naturally ferment things to keep it from spoiling. And so they're getting these good beneficial bacterias in pretty much everything they do, like yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, miso. These things are naturally fermented. And I was told during that health phase of my life, when I was struggling with my gut health so bad, that I want you to add a little bit of fermented food, just 1 tablespoon, just one bite with each meal. Now, I'm not the type of person that naturally likes fermented things. I don't like yogurt. I don't like sauerkraut. I don't like
Me either.
kimchi. I mean, I can eat miso soup, but it's just like I like kombucha. So I learned to like kombucha, and that's about the only thing that I like so it was hard for me to want to incorporate fermented things into my natural diet. That's where maybe, taking a probiotic pill can benefit you, as well as having these things if you just don't like the way they taste. Now, I will
Yeah.
say, like everything else, I can learn to tolerate it. I can learn to like it. Just like the kombucha, it tasted like dirty feet to me, when I first started drinking it, but now I crave it. So try something new, try something you haven't tried before. Try to add a fermented food in to
Yeah.
nourish your gut microbiome. Because I mean, you're with me on this one. I think that nature is always best, and it's always going to be able to help you flourish and thrive a little more.
I do. But, and I will throw this because sometimes like I've said before, I always am the one that tries to come across I don't ever want anybody to think that, we're judging and saying this is the only way you can get to that, because I'm not one, like you said, that likes the sauerkraut or, yogurt or anything. So I, in that aspect, choose to take a probiotic. Now, there are prebiotics that I do like. I like garlic and, onions and a couple of vegetables. I'm not a huge vegetable person, but I can get some of my food in that way. But if you're not one that likes those things, then by all means, it's better to take something than to not. We're just saying, if you like those things and you haven't been using that for that reason, it is better.
Right.
And there are some people that like to experiment. I think you're more of an experimenter than me.
Yeah,
So,
my therapist called me a pioneer. You have pioneers and settlers. Like, I'm always looking for the next, latest, greatest thing, more in the. I feel like I'm a lazy pioneer because I'm always looking for like the most efficient way to do things. And these natural fermented foods could be more cost effective, because prebiotics and probiotics, if you buy a good one, they're pretty expensive. And not all of them, if you want live active cultures, you basically have to get refrigerated ones, and they could be $50 more a bottle. And that, I mean, it's a lot cheaper to eat some yogurt, if you like it.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would say do your research on that, though. If you are going to take a pill or, over the counter, anything, instead of eating it, like you just said, not all of them are created equal. Some are better than others. And in that aspect, I'm not always one that says, oh, because it costs more, it's better. But in this aspect, most of the time, your better supplements are going to cost more.
Yeah, and that's just
that
because
is
of how
sad.
they have to process them. It
Yeah.
costs more to keep a live, active culture alive through the processing. And so you naturally have to pay for better materials, better processing, more manpower, things like that. So they are going to be naturally, all the really good probiotics that I've ever come across are $50 or more a bottle. And that's for like a month's worth, so you're going to be paying $50 a month or more. And also, you need to be varying your strains. So if you're buying the same probiotic or prebiotic all the time, you're getting the same strains of bacteria all the time. You need to buy different types. You need to, look into several brands, not just buy the same one, because you need to be building multiple colonies. There are trillions of bacteria in your body, and you need to be feeding and maintaining, all of them. So this
Yeah.
isn't really a one size fits all, and it isn't really a set it and forget it kind of thing. Like creatine monohydrate is creatine monohydrate. I don't care where you go and get it. You can pretty much get it everywhere. It's pretty much the same cost. Buy the cheapest bulk on Amazon, whatever. Probiotics and prebiotics, you're exactly right. That's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up. Are not created equal. And you really need to know which ones are better than others.
Yes. And you're right. Maybe I don't like sauerkraut, but it probably would be a cheaper.
You could buy a big
cheaper,
tub of it at Costco. It's huge,
Yeah.
And you put like 1 teaspoon on your plate if you can stomach it, and there is this lady called the Fermenting Fairy, and she's based out of Florida, and she will ship it to your door. It's not cheap shipping. It's like $20 or $30 because she's shipping it quickly and refrigerated. So because it's live active stuff, but she has stuff like apple sauces. So you can get like a pear cinnamon, and they are live active cultures. And my last coach put me onto her, and she swears by her stuff. You can get different kind of drinks, different kind of sauces, different kind of foods. So if you are somebody like me who just hates yogurt, hates sauerkraut, I loved her applesauce. It was very delicious, and I would take like 1 or 2 spoonfuls every morning, first thing when I woke up, before I put anything else on my stomach. And you know, the product itself is not very expensive. I think it's like $10 to $20 depending on the product, but the shipping was more expensive. So I would just look at,
Yeah.
maybe getting more of the product shipped
Yeah.
once, but then you got to look at like expiration dates and things like that. So just something to keep in
Yeah.
mind.
Well, I will say I did find, just to throw this out there, talking about the servings, is a 2023 controlled trial study said 7 servings per day of probiotic found improvements in mood, anxiety, stress, and sleep. So
I
just
believe
throw
it.
that out as something
Yeah.
to go
So that
by.
would
And
be
it's,
like
I
2
mean,
at every
it's,
meal.
yeah, and technically, if you think about it, I don't even like applesauce. I don't like the texture,
The gritty. Yeah.
but over the grand scheme of things, if I had something like that, what would be the huge deal, like you said, to have a tablespoon? I mean, in the mornings when I make my shake and I'm putting all of that other stuff in there, I told you I've got that NAD now and a vitamin D and all of this. Just it's a whole bunch of crap mixed together. Yeah, Carrie says it makes my breath smell like I ate a turd. But it's 8 ounces and I'm going to
Yeah.
swig it and it's over. And I've got the collagen and all of that, my creatine, my EAs, all of that in 1 8 ounce. I mean, I'm wiping out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 8 supplements in that 8 ounces. And I don't have to worry about it.
You can tolerate
So,
it. Now she does have lemonades too. I will put you onto that because I know you like
yeah,
lemonades. She has some
yeah,
yummy lemonades, and you just take a swig or two in the mornings, keep it in your refrigerator, swig or two in the mornings. I do my kombucha that way before I drink my coffee.
yeah.
But she
Well,
has
you could do
lots of
like that in the morning and 2 at night at least. And at least that would be 4 better. I
exactly.
mean,
Yeah,
so, yeah, I mean, let's think about it. Anybody can hold their nose. I mean, if you had to take medicine, if you're sick and dying, none of us like to take medicine. I mean,
yeah,
I still sometimes want to hold my nose when I take certain liquids, medicine
yeah.
wise. I don't like it. So,
We can do what we
take,
have to do because we're adults. We
yeah,
can put our big
yeah,
girl panties on and we can deal with it
yeah. I mean,
if
because
we have
honestly,
to.
now that I'm saying it out loud, like, yeah, I mean, if I was on my deathbed, sick as a dog, I'm going to take that. It doesn't matter what it tastes like.
Here, Kimberly,
So
this applesauce will save your life. You'd be like, give it to
I
me.
can hold
Let
my
me eat it.
nose. Yeah. Okay. Folks, I'm
I
going
know
to do
it's a
it. I'm going to
consistency
do
thing.
it.
But she has
I
lemonades,
just want
so you
everybody,
don't
I,
you don't have to be
I
stuck to
will,
the
I'll
applesauce.
hit you. I'll hit her up and see about the lemonades. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I just had to
Hey,
throw
maybe
that
we
out
can
there
get
because
together and order some stuff and split that shipping cost.
yeah, that's an idea,
There we go. We can
friends.
start a collective because the
And
more you order,
honestly,
I
like
think
if
the more you,
other people could do that too. If you've got some friends that are on their health journey with you or whatever, even if you got like 2 or 3 of y'all to go together and do something and then split that shipping,
yeah.
not a bad
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, because I mean, regular shipping's around $10 anyway. If you're
Yeah,
paying for shipping for something, and it's heavy, it's like in glass jars. So I understand the shipping cost, but yeah, I didn't think
yeah.
about it till just now. We could get together, and if any
Marcy's
listeners
so
out there want to get
smart.
in on it, I think the more we order, the shipping's still the same, and so we could save money too.
Okay,
All right, so
and
now we're
moving right
moving on
along.
from nourish your microbiome to supportive habits. So we have some supportive habits that kind of have nothing to really do with the food itself that you're eating that can support your digestive system. We've already talked about it on our last episode, and it's move your body daily. Exercise improves gut motility and microbiome diversity. We talked about walking and it's stimulating, going poop and, stimulating the blood flow and the organs and the different hormones. And it just moving your body and daily exercise of just some sort, just getting out and getting your blood flowing is always going to be beneficial to all your biological processes, no matter what it is. And it just so happens to be really good for your gut health as well. Another one is chewing your food thoroughly and eating mindfully. So I suck at this. And this is one habit I'm going to incorporate. So hold me accountable for it. Ask me about it next week. Is chewing my food slowly, thoroughly, and eating mindfully. And we talked about positive thinking in our last episode. And there have been lots of studies done on this as well, that if you savor your food, if you chew it slowly, if you think about the flavors, if you think about, instead of thinking about how fast can I scarf this down because I've got 10 minutes and I've got something to do next, thinking about the food, because digestion really starts in the mouth. And, if we chew it thoroughly, we're breaking it down more in the mouth so that we don't have to use so much stomach acid and mechanical processes in the stomach to break it down. We've already won. We've already leveled up just by chewing more. Then you have the saliva breaking it down more in the mouth before you swallow. So I think it's just making it easier on the stomach and the intestines to be able to do its job if we can just slow down and enjoy and savor the flavors. This is something that I don't know where I picked up this habit of just scarfing it down quickly and thinking about something else in the meantime. I have started reading a book at lunch instead of watching videos on my phone, because the act of having to hold the book and turn the pages, it keeps my hands a little busy to where it's not easy for me to just shovel the food in. So that has helped me kind of slow down. But I really do need to think about chewing more and being more mindful. And I really think that I'm setting myself up for failure if I don't implement that.
Well, oddly, I had wrote that down, which in a minute when we get to some things, it's under kind of what you did, is like how you can test and reset your gut. But anyway, that was one of the things, is mindful eating. And I'm making note of that, and I'm laughing to myself thinking, my daughter should definitely not have any gut problems. We laugh because she will make a big old plate, and she's little, and sit down to eat, and we're like, oh my gosh, she's always the last one. I mean, we will be up, we will be talking, we'll be moved on. She's still sitting there just eating. She is the slowest eater. And it's always this huge joke. Now, I don't suggest you eat as slow as she does, because it's like, okay, we're ready to go from the restaurant. How much longer are you going to be, But to throw in, if you think about it, like sometimes when we're really, really hungry, which if you do it all the time, you might not can tell, but it takes us, I want to say it's 7 minutes. I could be wrong about that, but it takes a certain amount of time for your stomach to tell your brain you're full.
It's 20 minutes.
Is it 20?
It is 20 minutes, which is so long.
Yes. So if you eat and scarf it down, and I have done before, like, oh my God, I'm so hungry because you haven't eaten so long, and you just hurry up and eat it. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh my gosh, I ate too much. Well, that is because I ate it so fast that I haven't had time for my brain to tell me that I'm full. We also would lose weight and cut down on the amount we eat if we slow that down. It not only is helping our digestion like you're talking about, but at the same time, I've thought and tried to practice this even before I was meal prepping, and now I know I just got to eat every bit that's on there. But, like when you make your plate at Thanksgiving, usually we just go in there and make our plates, and we're just eating it. And after a few minutes, we start thinking, oh my gosh, and I ate all of that. Where when we slow down and we stop and take our time to eat it, we will have not ate as much as we would have, because now our body's telling us we're full. And so you're really going to eat half of what you would have ate. You're just not giving your time.
Exactly, to process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even have that written down, but that is a great, I mean, there's only benefits to slowing down your eating. I've never heard anything negative, other than holding your family up at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Other than inconveniencing your entire family, do your slow eating. No, I'm just kidding.
Like the movie starts in 5 minutes.
But the
Can you just take
biological
that?
processes, there's only benefits to that. And the next supportive habit is staying hydrated to support digestion, because your intestines pull water. And if you've ever had diarrhea, it's because you pulled in too much water, and constipation, you haven't pulled in enough. And that's how those medications kind of work in either stopping or starting, the pooping process, is they manipulate the water drawing into the waste or coming out. And so if you're not properly hydrated, then the intestines are muscles. First of all, your muscles can't work properly if they're not properly hydrated. You won't have enough hydration to pull into that waste to get it moving. So it really could be a really easy fix to something that you may have chronic constipation. It may just be because you're not drinking enough water.
Mm-hmm.
Easy peasy.
Good point. Good point.
All right, that brings us to stress and sleep management. So we've already established in our last episode on what wreaks havoc on your gut, that environmental toxins and stress can have a huge detrimental effect on your gut. So some things you can do to counteract that, which we covered a little bit in the last episode, is mindfulness. Just practice deep breathing or meditation to activate the rest and digest mode. Taking a bath, like you said, what's your favorite self-care practice? Is it taking a walk in the sunshine and listening to an audiobook, or is it getting your nails done or a massage? I love getting massages or facials. Not that we can do that every day, but, just scheduling in some time for you to invest back into yourself, to balance out the stresses. Like we talked about last week, there may be lots of stresses, that are good stresses. I mean, your job could be stressful, but it could be a job that you love and it's providing for your family. Or, your marriage and your kids could be stressful, but you love your husband and you love your children. It's just a lot to keep up with on a daily basis. There could be good stresses that you can't necessarily eliminate, but you can take a different mindset approach to it. You can practice positive thinking. You can take some time for yourself and really try to reframe the narrative and try to bring yourself into it, because like the old example of putting your oxygen mask on first. If the plane's going down and the oxygen mask deploys, they tell you put yours on first, because if your brain loses oxygen, you can't help the child or the spouse or whoever's sitting next to you. Same thing in life. If you're broke down, if you're having gut issues, if you're having inflammatory issues or any kind of disease, that our body is in dis-ease, then we're out of balance. And the number one things we need to look at are things like hydration, sleep, activity, stress, and that leads to the next point is aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And some people might think that that's a luxury, but it's really a necessity. And scientific proven fact, women need more sleep than men. We have to set the standard for ourselves. We have to draw boundaries. We have to set bedtimes. We have to invest in our own health before we can give to others, because you can't dip from an empty bucket. You can't pour from an empty glass. We have to first fill ourselves up, and sleep is a great basic way to set yourself up for success in everything else. And that it's no stranger to gut health, because that's when your body really kind of detoxifies and repairs and balances hormones and things to, so that when you do wake up, that you can carry on healthfully throughout your day with your normal activities.
Yeah. I don't think that as a young person I realized as much as I do now, that it's very important to take care of yourself and try to have those few moments to just reset. And because that stress will make you take it out on everybody else. And there's times I would lose it on the kids, the spouse. And like you say, it's not that I didn't want to be with my husband. Good point. Just because you're stressed doesn't mean you're always in a bad marriage. You just stress because there's so much going on and there's only one of you. So
Yeah, you get overstimulated. I think as women, we can all relate with that. I had somebody ask me the other day when I was talking about the relationship between me and my oldest daughter and a lot of mom guilt that I carry. I was young. I was 20 when I had her. I could have done a better job, whatever. And she was like, well, were you angry? And I was like, no, I was never an angry person. I said, I would get pushed too far and I would erupt, but it was overstimulating. It was the stress of the job, the stress of the bills, the stress of the kids, and kids will be kids. They were just doing normal kid things. And then my capacity to tolerate it was diminished. And I think a lot of that was lack of sleep because I was burning the candle at both ends. I was working full time. I was going to school. I was taking care of the kids largely by myself as a single parent for most of the time until I met Jimmy. But, like you said, it wasn't that, I didn't have a good life or that I didn't love my children or love being a parent and feel all the joys of that. It's just that I didn't understand that I was important. I didn't understand that I needed to set boundaries for myself. And when you're young, you have an abundance of energy, it seems like. So I didn't feel as bad as I feel today.
mm-hmm.
If I lack sleep today, it's like I'm hungover. And the next day, I can feel it in my body. Back then, you don't feel like that. But it doesn't mean that you're not suffering from all the bad effects, and then they accumulate over time. So I think that's a great point that you bring up, that just knowing that sleep is a natural process, it's a gift to your body and that it's necessary. 7 to 9 hours, at least for women, is something you should be aiming for. And getting that regardless of whether you feel like you need it or not, and knowing that you deserve it, that you are worthy of that rest, and that you need to incorporate that into your life is super important, especially at a young age. Not that we can't do it now because it's important now, but the more we can learn that lesson, the earlier, the better.
Yeah, yeah. And I still struggle with this. So I'll say this for anybody that might possibly be struggling. We've talked before about how, my childhood and even my first husband was like that, as you got to go, do. So anytime I wanted to sleep in because I was tired, I was trained, I'm going to use that word, trained, to make me feel like I was lazy.
Yeah, shame. There was a lot of shame wrapped in that.
Yeah. So now, because I'm a up late person, because I'm trying to still tend to the household things, and that's what I've been trying to reverse a little bit. But it's nothing for me to be up till 11:30, and even when the kids were little, because once I would get them to bed, then I needed what we're talking about, that downtime sometimes to watch TV to unwind. And I still feel that way because all day long, even though my kids are grown, I am tending to things. I run my own business. You're helping, the employees, they're asking me questions. I'm getting phone calls from my dad asking me questions. I feel like everybody needs me. So it's almost like having children again. You're tending to things at the house. I'm trying to make sure my husband's taking care of my son that's home. It's just like everybody needs something from me. And at 9:30, when he goes to sleep, is that time that I can just almost feel like I'm going,
yeah.
I can relax my brain. Nobody's saying, hey, Kim, hey, Kimberly, Mama, hey, can you do this? Nobody's touching me. Nobody's needing me. And I need that to reset. Yeah. And that's what's been hard for me, is trying to, because it is late. So if I try to sleep in, though, to counteract that, say on a weekend or on my off day, If it's 8 o'clock when I wake up, I should just be like, okay, well, still slept the normal 8 hours that somebody else did. I just didn't go to bed as early as you. But my brain is wired to say, you slept half the day away. You're lazy. You should have already been up. Who sleeps till 8 o'clock? This is ridiculous. I mean, this is what's going through my head. And so then I start shaming myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just becomes a cycle to where I feel like I got to make myself get up, because if I don't, then people's going to look at me differently. And who knows besides me, and if I tell my husband because he's not here. But so it's me. It's
Right.
ourselves that are doing that to ourselves. So I guess I just felt like if anybody else is going through that, it's still a process for me. So I guess who am I to tell you how to get over it? But I know that it's got to be a thing with other people. And I'm working on still saying it's not. That's what
Yeah,
my body needs. And who is anybody else to tell me what my body needs?
exactly. And I think a lot of women can relate to that, whether you're a mother or not. Because, like you said, I mean, it might not be a husband and children, it may be employees, it may be family members, it may be whatever. And I think that's a trauma that we suffer collectively as women, because we are multifaceted. We're good multitaskers. We're always thinking 9 different trains on 10 different tracks. It's just, we're good at kin keeping. We're good at keeping all the puzzle pieces together. And that's what makes us good at like running businesses and running homes and things of that nature. But it is traumatic in the fact that we've been fed a load of bullshit by hustle culture that we can have it all, we can be it all, we can do it all, and that we're supposed to. And I have become very resentful of things that start to overstep boundaries. Now that I've learned that I need the rest, I still have that shame, like you said, of I have the time to rest. I'm taking the time to rest for myself, but in my mind, I still have that voice that comes up. So I have to just keep reminding myself that it's good and it's necessary. Even nature has seasons. Even nature doesn't bloom all the time. You have the fall where everything dies and falls away. You have the dormant season of winter. Then it comes back in the spring and the summer. We are not so expected to be able to bloom all the time. And I think that we have PTSD from being expected to keep up with all these things just like men do. When men aren't keeping up with this shit, they're going and they're doing their jobs and they're coming home and switching their brains off.
Mm-hmm.
We're expected to keep every plate up and spinning all the time, and don't you dare let it go. And so now for me, now that I've learned this, I'm having a hard time with boundaries being triggered, because I've learned that anytime something causes me anxiety or anger, or I start bitching and complaining about something, it's because I've set a boundary and somebody's pushing against it. Whether they know it or not, whether they mean to or not, I'm not blaming the person or the situation, but I'm starting to learn that that anger is triggering me. So that's something that needs attention. And there's a lot of things that I've had to say no to that are good things, that are things that could be pleasurable and enjoyable. It could be things that benefits somebody else. And, I think especially like in Southern hospitality culture, and especially in Christian culture, we're expected to sacrifice ourselves for the greater good. We're expected to sacrifice ourselves to help other people for charity and whatnot. That's not true. Because if you're sacrificing yourself to the point to where you're putting yourself in an early grave, what good are you? If you're not enjoying your life, what good is that? What kind of quality of life do you have? So, like you said, I'm still struggling with it. I may be a little bit further along down the road than you are, because I think I've realized it a long time ago, like, 7, 8 years ago. And I got smacked on my ass by a disease that caused me, I would say my words would be, it caused me to be worthless for a year. I couldn't work. The only exercise I could do was walk and yoga. It was like I felt completely worthless as a human being for an entire year. And I've had to slowly build up from that. And I don't want to get to that point again. So now that I'm able to have more energy and do more things, I'm wanting to take on more projects and do more things and be successful and, all these things. But my body is like, no, you can't. You have to balance. You don't want to end up back where you were. And resting is a huge part of that. I would say the balance and the rest that I need to be healthy, to be optimal. Can I run on lack of sleep? Can I run on lack of balance, lack of rest? Yes. But I'm going to be overstimulated. I'm going to be snippy. I'm going to complain about situations behind people's backs because it's triggering me. That I don't want to go do this and I don't want to go do that. And I feel like I have to do this and I have to do that, especially during the holiday season, because there's all these extra added things to the schedule. There's extra parties, there's extra shopping, there's extra decorating, there's extra cooking. I know some people in my family probably look at me and be like, well, she's just a Grinch, or she's just a bitch, or, she can do more than what she's doing. Yeah, I can. But I'm choosing not to, because I've lived my life the other way and I saw what it got me. And so now I'm choosing me first, because I'm the only person on the face of this earth that's going to choose me. Nobody else is going to choose me, because I'm not as important to them as they are. So if everybody's choosing themselves and taking optimal care of themselves, I believe we will be able to live in a way that's overly abundant, to where we can give to other people out of our excess instead of out of our sacrifice. But that's a place that mentally I feel like we as women are not taught, especially in the South, because we're taught to be nice, and we're taught that in order to be nice, you have to say yes to everybody and everything all the time. And I'm just not going to be nice anymore. I don't want to be nice anymore. I want to have peace. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy, and I want to be peaceful, and I want to live a life that I can enjoy. And to me, that's not worth saying yes to a random holiday party, or something that in 5 years isn't going to matter. I think that's a good indicator. Like, when we look at it in 5 years, is it going to really matter that you slept in until 8 o'clock one morning? Is anybody going to come to your door and be like, Miss Blaylock, I'm here to issue you a citation for sleeping till 8 a.m. Like you said, nobody gives a shit. So why do we care? It's the trauma. It's the trauma from our childhoods. It's the patterns that we've set up in our minds. It's the value that we put on ourselves. We are human beings, not human doings. And we have to place more value on ourselves as human beings, especially as women. I feel like we have to be so cognizant of how we conduct our lives and how we take care of ourselves, because everything's energy. Every thought you have takes energy. It's not just your daily activity. It's not just your exercise. Your mental capacity burns through energy. And everything we keep in our brain.
I should be like a toothpick then.
Well, girl, that's why you're so skinny all the time. That's why you lose weight faster than I do. You're still saying yes a lot more than I am.
My brain hurts 90% of the time.
I know. Well, you're working full time. Like you said, you're a business owner. You carry all of that. That alone is enough. Then you're a wife and a mother and a grandmother. That alone by itself is enough. Then you add bodybuilding on top. There's people who that's their whole profession. So you're living 3 lifetimes in one, and you never say no to anybody. Anytime anybody asks you to show up for them, to do something for them, to be there for them, you're saying yes. And you're thinking, what can I give up of myself to fit this person in to my busy schedule. And I would say I admire you for that, but I actually kind of feel sorry for you. Because in a way, our society, that's honorable. That's admirable. She's fucking superwoman, and you are. But at what cost to yourself? You know, I want you to see you as I see you, how worthy you are of that rest.
I'm trying.
I know, and you're doing so much better. I mean, it started with sleep, and you've been really cognizant of your sleep. And we've gotten way off the topic of gut health, but this is so important because if you live in a stressful state, and I think no matter what you eat, no matter what supplements you take, no matter how much exercise you get, if you're stressed the fuck out all the time, your gut health is going to be shit. Point blank. I feel like this is very important to talk about. And I know it kind of seems way off topic, but it's extremely important. And we have both battled this. We both continue to battle this. And I'm willing to bet every woman, unless you're just some kind of type B personality that just goes floating through life and everybody else is taking care of you, I envy you. First of all, I want to be you. Yeah. But most women are not like that. I was born to
be a little princess. I just know.
Girl. It was beat out of me at a young age, But, my grandpa was a workaholic. He made my mother a workaholic. She was a single mom taking care of 2 kids. She basically had not a lot of choice, so it's almost like a generational curse. Your father passed it to you, It's things that we absorbed so young. It's written in every cell of our body that we just didn't even know we were learning it. And it wasn't until middle life that I realized that this isn't good for you, because for a long time it served me, going to school, working. People were always like, oh my God, I don't know how you do it. You're so strong. You always get like positive feedback from showing up in every aspect all the time, but nobody sees on the inside what it's doing to you mentally, emotionally, physically, until you have that break. And then they say you're a crazy bitch. It's like,
well, I know that like you'll say, the girl I work with, sometimes she'll be like, I don't see how you do everything. For me, I feel like I'm not doing anything that most women don't do, because most women have a full plate. Most women are, doing this and doing that. So for me, I don't feel like I'm more spectacular than the next. But
really you are. Really, your 50% is most people's 90s. And that's what I had to realize recently, is because we're so type A, because we're so people pleasers and perfectionists, which, most of the women I know are, our 50% is most people's 90 to 100%. Like if we were just given 50% of effort in a day, we're still going to get more shit done than most people, especially men. And I'm not saying there aren't men out there who are extremely successful and, but I'm willing to bet, and Jimmy has even said this, behind that very successful man is either a wife who does everything for him, or a paid staff who is taking care of him. They're cooking his meals, they're shopping, they're doing his food, they're cleaning his house. He's not going and running a business all day, going to the gym for a couple of hours, and then also coming home and cooking the food and cleaning the house and doing the laundry. It's just not happening.
Yeah. I just need a staff, is what you're saying.
You need to delegate. You need to say no more than you do. You need to delegate some things. Time is money. And you either got to look at it as, is it worth my time, or is it worth my money? Can I pay somebody to do this at a cheaper cost mentally?
So like when I told you, Carrie, the top part of the pantry, and over the cabinets, I have all of my stuff set up neat. Well, he took it down and it's on the counter. So before I come in here, he was like, "So now, what do you do with all this? You gonna put it back up there?" And I was like, "Yeah, but like, what are you trying to say? You want to put it up there?" And he was like, "Well, I was gonna do some things." I said, "No," he said, I said, "You know, the cups go over here." He said, "Yeah, I know the cups go over there, and the platters, that part's easy." I said, "Well, just leave everything else." He said, "Well, I can just sit it all up there and you can redo it." I said, "No, because that'd be too much for me to do. Just don't touch it."
So that's your perfectionism kicking in there. Let him do it.
No,
Maybe
because
let
then I
it
gotta
go.
wait.
But you could let him do it. You could give him really good instructions, let him do it, and then if it's not to your liking, in a moment where you have a little extra time and you feel rested and inspired, you could fix it. Instead of like today trying to fix it or having all that shit sitting all over your counter and it's bothering you, because I know it is.
Oh yeah, it'll be done tonight after this
Yeah,
wedding.
I know. But you're doing the podcast this morning. You're helping with a friend with a wedding this afternoon. And I mean, let him do it. Give him good instructions. Let him do it.
See,
And
my
then
anxiety's building up you just talking about letting him do it.
that's your trauma response, though. This is what we have to work on. This is what you have to just breathe. You just write it out. Cups go on the left, platters go in the middle, like how you want it. He's probably looked at it enough to know what it's supposed to look like, and he could get it up there. And then when you have a moment and you feel so inclined, you might have to rearrange. But it may be 50% of the work instead of 100% of the work. You know, he may get 50% of it right.
Or it could be 110% of the work, because then I have to just take it all down and start all over.
Okay, this is where we're going to positive thinking. We're going to think positively that Carrie's competent enough to get it at least 50% right.
I'm sorry, baby. I do love you.
I'm sure he lived with you long enough to know.
Yeah. On a positive note, he does wonderful at washing clothes and loading the dishwasher. I mean, I'm good with that.
Yeah. We're going to start training him to do some more things.
But so getting back, because I do have, speaking of wedding, I have to get ready for this wedding.
Yes.
So
we're wrapping up.
I only have a couple of things, if it's okay to jump in. I know that you did the GAP diet, but there is a 7-day reset diet. I don't know if I'm sure you've seen that. So it's pretty much what Marcy did. You're just not doing it for as long. You're only doing it for the 7 days where you're bringing in the fiber foods and you're temporarily eliminating the foods like she talked about, the processed foods, sugars. Maybe you could even do the gluten and dairy, all of those things that are potential irritants to you. And so then after the 7 days, you're going to see how you feel. You could even bring in key components to those whole foods. So it's like we talked about the yogurts and kefirs and your prebiotics. So, and you're getting plenty of fruit, vegetables, and the staying hydrating. Marcy brought all of that in. So you want to bring in those foods that we talked about and the staying hydrated for those 7 days, eliminating all of those foods that we said were triggers. And then you're going to see how your body feels. And then like, you're going to practice the mindful eating that she talked about. And then that's going to reset your gut. If you wanted to do more than 7 days, but it is actually called the 7-day reset. So I haven't done it, but evidently it works, just doing it the 7 days. But if you still were feeling bad and felt like you needed longer, I'm sure. But like Marcy said, after that, how you started bringing foods back in, then you can start bringing foods back in. But I would just do like one at a time. That doesn't mean go back to your regular diet. You're going to bring in, like how Marcy brought in a cheese or this. That way it's easier to see what foods are triggering you. And you're rebuilding your, gut gradually by doing that. So that was a thing. And then I thought we would tell them about the testings. Now, am I mistaken to think that you did one of those gut testings?
Yeah, I did a lot. I did the Viome gut
Okay.
intelligence test. I did a full body intelligence test, which tests like all the different sensitivities and the microbiomes and all of that. And that wasn't quite specific enough for what my coach wanted. So then ended up doing a GI mapping test, which I think is a little more individualized specifically to the gastrointestinal tract, and it tells you like more so what bacteria levels are high, what are low, all of that kind of thing. And that can, if you're having issues and you want to do that testing on your own, you can just look them up online, purchase the testing, and most of them read the fine print to be sure, but most of them come with like a health advisor or a medical professional or something that you get on the phone with afterward and do like a little consultation to kind of go over the results. Or if you're working with your healthcare practitioner, you can take the results to them.
And I
You
think
can,
that would go along with what the money was, because from what I could see, depending on what kind you did, it was like $100 to $400. So just depending on how intense you wanted to get with it, because they do have the in-home one. You've got
right.
the
But all of mine were in
comprehensive.
home. Yeah. So the Viome was blood, saliva, and stool. And it told you all the foods that you were sensitive to, like mildly sensitive to, moderately sensitive, and then highly sensitive. And it was a good like overall view. If you've never done any kind of testing, the Viome Viome is the name of it.
Mhm.
Full body intelligence test. They usually run specials. Black Friday last year is when I got my like $150 off or whatever the test. And it's a great place to start with overall health factors, foods. I mean, they go very in depth. You can look it up. There's TikTok videos and everything about it. And then the GI mapping test, like I said, it's more scientific. You probably have to have a medical person read it, but they can be quite pricey. I spent a lot of money on testing. And you can also take all your results and upload it to ChatGPT, which is fun. And ChatGPT will kind of do like a little analysis of your results too if you have any kind of testing. But
Cool.
yeah,
But
that's a
yeah,
good
like,
place to start.
yeah. And you could ask, like she's saying, you could do the home one, or you can ask your doctor, because I know there was, when I was looking up the different ones, there's like a blood test that can help you, and it will tell you like if you have inflammatory bowel disease, food allergies, measures your vitamins and minerals. So that's just a regular blood test your doctor can
Right.
do.
Mm-hmm.
There was even one that was like a breath test that measured certain things in your, you know, breath. So different ones. I would say the stool one, like you did, is probably the best. But money wise, if you wanted to start more simple, but if you go to your doctor and you could talk him into doing the stool sample test and do the comprehensive one, it's a possibility maybe your insurance would cover it.
That's true. Yeah.
Depending on what's going on. So
Right.
you could at least ask, because sometimes it's how they code it, and depending on how cool your doctor is,
Yeah, or how
sometimes they,
intelligent they are on working around the system, sometimes they can work that in. Yeah.
yeah, especially if you were
Me,
having issues. And so just a
right.
thought there.
Yeah, I was never lucky enough to
So
be sick enough to have a doctor be able to write any of that off, unfortunately. But I don't know if that's lucky or unlucky. But
a little bit
all
of
right, well,
both,
this
probably.
wraps up our 4-part series on gut health. If you haven't listened to the other episodes, go back to part 1 and listen to, I think it's episode 42. Yeah, 42, 43, 44, and 45, 4-part series on gut health. And we hope that you learned something. We hope that all of our rambling was beneficial in some way and that you can relate to our stories. And that, yeah, I know we talk a lot about our own personal experience and everything, but I'm kind of like a me too kind of person. Some people find that annoying, but I feel like if I can relate a story to myself, it's like I feel not so alone, and I learn from other people's experiences. And so I like to tell my stories because I hope you can hear yourself in some of them,
Mm-hmm.
and try to helpfully learn something that maybe you didn't know that can be of benefit, because we're all just trying to find the root cause, fix it, and move on with our lives so that we can be healthy and thrive, really.
Or if you're like me and you just can't fix yourself, at least know you're not alone.
Hey,
I'm
you're
just
getting
as
better.
effed up.
I have seen a lot of growth in you just in the couple of years that we've been friends. I have seen tremendous growth in the right direction, and I'm so very proud of you. I know I pick on you a lot, because it's easier to see it from outside, outside looking in, it's so much easier to see other people's problems and what the fix is. But when you're emotionally tied into it, it's a lot harder to see, the forest for the trees or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I know I pick on you a lot, and it's only because I love you and I want to see you have more and do better. And I kind of low key get pissed off when so many people want so much from you, because I know how hard you struggle just to take care of yourself. And I think it's not fair that they do ask you to do things that they could do themselves, But that's also the way I was raised. My mother was always like, don't ask me to do something that you can do for yourself. If I came to her and I asked her for something that I could do myself, she's like, no, you're going to do that yourself. And I know it was to teach me strength and resilience and resourcefulness and things like that. But also, that's the kind of person I am. So I get angry when people try to run over you. I don't like them treating my friend like that, but I know that they probably don't mean to. It's just their natural whatever. Yeah. And you're always so accommodating. You never make anybody feel like they're a burden or that they're too much.
The sad thing is that's my love language, is to do things for people. And so, like, I put up the Grinch tree. I think I was telling you that earlier, because my daughter made comment the other day of, I didn't put it up last year, and I didn't put all of the stuff up in the kitchen because I thought, I'm just not going to do all that this year because nobody's really going to be here. And she's like, so now that they've moved away, they come earlier than Christmas. And so I feel like because nobody's here, actually Christmas Eve is not the same. But I realize now that it affected them, and that bothered me. So guess who's going all out this Christmas?
Guess who's back to putting all the decorations out and putting them back up?
I mean, I guess it wasn't enough that I only put up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trees last year.
See, this is what I'm talking about, Kimberly. This is what we got to work on. I've been trying to get my family to let me do a tabletop tree forever, and they just won't let me do it. So I begrudgingly put up one tree, but I make my daughter help me decorate it, whatnot. I don't know. Yeah. I'm trying to find balance. I'm trying not to be a Scrooge, Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go, I told you that, put up my my mother-in-law's tree next Sunday. So, but I know, her husband's been in the hospital for like a month, and he's been really sick. He likes Christmas, and she had given me one of her trees that matched my tree because she had bought one like me a couple of years ago. Mine was just bigger than hers. And so I was going to buy her a pencil tree, but she did tell me somebody had bought her one. So, but she always likes the ribbon I put on mine and all that. So I seen some ribbon in my garage, and I was like, let me just use this for her because I'm not going to use it this year. It doesn't match my colors. Everything's got to be color coordinated. Mm-hmm. So then I'm calling her like, what color are your colors? My ribbon's got to be the color of your ornaments. Anyway, so I am looking forward to doing that for her though, because I know that she can't do it by herself, and him being able to see that if it's his last Christmas and enjoy it,
Yeah. If it's something that makes you happy and feeds your soul and you have more energy afterward than you did before, then by all means, decorate to your little heart's content. But if it's something you're begrudgingly like, I can't believe I'm doing this shit.
No, I enjoy it. It's just fitting it in. Yeah. And they live an hour from here, so it's not like I'm just going across the street. But I am looking forward to doing that for them. So maybe I'll start a Christmas decorating business.
Yeah, because you don't have enough things to do right now. Just because we're good at something and we enjoy it doesn't mean we should do it. You sound just like me. It's like, I always think like, what's the highest, most excellent level that I could take something to?
I know after I had did my daughter's wedding, the first one we did, my mother-in-law and several of her relatives like, you need to go into business doing this. And I thought, when would I do this? I already work on Saturdays. Weddings are
Yeah.
usually Saturdays. When would I do it? Then when I did my next daughter's, there's Own It Again. And I'm like, it
Because
sounds
you're so
cool,
good
but
at it. Yeah.
I just don't, I do enjoy it, but I don't have, I mean, it's not something that I have time for.
Right.
So
Right. You would have to
anyway,
choose one.
right now we'll just help other people.
That's right. Sometimes you'll help other people. I'll just say no a lot. I'm getting kind of good at it. That's okay. All right,
All
guys. So
right.
just remember, progress isn't perfect.
I bet you are. So keep growing. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.